Welcome to the Living a Nordic Life podcast, where we explore a simpler, cosier and more intentional life the Nordic way. I'm Fiona McKenna, your Nordic Living Guide and founder of Living a Nordic Life, where I share all things Nordic living and show you that a Nordic life is the way to bring intentional calm and healthy habits into your own life, wherever you are in the world. Are you looking for ways to bring simplicity, coziness and calm into your life? Well, let me show you how. Visit the Living a Nordic Life website to explore how I can help you on your journey to simple, healthy and happy calm, the Nordic way. You can subscribe to the podcast right here. And if you want regular inspirational emails sent with love from Norway and straight to your inbox, don't forget to subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters. And so now let's dive into our episode. Let's talk about travelling. But I want to talk to you about something that Andre, my husband, and I have some unique knowledge about. And that is travelling with autistic children. If you're a regular reader here, or you listen to my podcast, or you're a friend in the Living a Nordic Life Facebook group, you may know that my 3 children are all autistic. They are fairly recently diagnosed, all 3 of them within about a month of each other. But that doesn't change the fact that they have always been autistic from the moment they were born. So as a family, we do things in a certain way. We have fairly rigid schedules, strict routines, and things don't change very much. They range in age from 17 years old, 15 years old, and 8 years old. And they all have high-functioning autism, which is what used to be called Asperger's. We're not allowed to call it that anymore. We have to call it high-functioning autism. Or I think in some places it might be called level 1 autism, but they don't call it that here. I don't think they call it that in Europe. But if you know anything about autism, you will know that one individual can be level 1 one day and level 2 another, and it does all kinds of things. So anyway, but navigating a world that is designed for neurotypical people, that's the rest of us, it's tough on them. And it can feel as parents that it's safer and easier to stay at home because the hassle and the work and the effort of trying to travel can be too much, and it can be frightening if you don't do it or you haven't done it very often. But this is not the philosophy of me and Andre, my husband. We want our kids to explore the world like everyone else, and like we did as children. But we also know that we can't do it the same way as everyone else. Things have to be just a little bit different. We can't just pack a bag. We can't grab our passports. We can't put our shoes on and just leave the house. We need to plan. Everybody has to be prepared. And we have to anticipate potential pitfalls without getting bogged down in a huge amount of organisation. The more you organise, the easier it is to be a little bit impulsive and spontaneous with things without it resulting in a gazillion meltdowns. And by doing this, we make it fun and relaxed, and we let our kids do the things that everyone else takes for granted. So if you're considering travelling with autistic children, maybe you just found this and you think, yeah, okay, what tips have you got? Anything? Or you're simply wondering what it is like to travel with autistic children, but you don't have to have autistic kids. Maybe you just want some tips on how to get out of the house without a huge hoo-ha. I'd like to share some ways over our 17 years of parenting that we've learnt to be able to leave the house without turning it into a circus or 3 synchronised meltdowns. And hopefully I can encourage you to take that step and get out into the world as well. Plan ahead. That's my biggest tip, I have to say. And it's the biggest thing with autistic children generally. They need structure and they need to know what is going to happen. No sudden surprises. They don't work. Give them lists. Talk about the journey to make it less frightening. And be prepared for a gazillion questions and probably a gazillion bits of research and possibly even a PowerPoint. But also, try not to overwhelm them with too much information. It's better not to give everything at once. That's my experience. It's better to give bits of information in segments. My girls like to have several days to process everything. On day 1, we'll give them the information. Day 2, they process it. Day 3, to ask questions and sit with the information. So a good 3 days before. And this always works for us and reduces the risks of meltdowns from unexpected events and from there being too much stimuli. We pack the car the night before we travel. We don't do it the day that we're travelling. And everyone gets their travel outfits ready the night before as well, because then it's easy just to put them on. Because those transitions from one thing to the next, from one activity to the next, or from one room to the next even, or from the house into the car, are those times when you're going to get those meltdowns. It also avoids the possibility of not having the right socks, yes, or the right trousers, or something not being clean. You're prepared, aren't you, if you've got everything ready the night before. Make frequent stops when you're travelling. We do fly, but we mostly drive, and that's easy in Europe, but it does mean that it's an awful lot more time spent doing those things. Making frequent stops is easy when you're driving because, of course, you make your own time. But you do need to, whatever you're doing, you do need to factor in extra time and plan stops if you can. It's good to take a little bit of time before you go to do some research so that you know what to expect and you can choose rest stops that are the best fit for your family, or even the best toilets at the airport. I mean, it can be as simple as that. Sounds really, like it's a little bit too much planning, but this is what we do and this is how it works. When we're taking road trips, I like to choose places that are easy to park, quiet, and have nice clean toilet facilities. Food choices can be an option. Maybe you've got kids that will eat anything. I have 2 with ARFID, so that's a autistic food resistance, a food avoidance and food intake issue. So there are safe foods, simply. And that means that we always make sure that we have a selection of her safe food with us. Occasionally she'll surprise us and decide that she wants to eat something different, like vegetables that are not all the same. But we need to make sure that we keep things as predictable as possible. Sites like TripAdvisor even have reviews of motorway and roadside rest stops. So you can make use of other people's experiences where you can. And you usually get a feeling, don't you, when you drive into these places? If there's litter everywhere, it's probably not going to be wonderful. Or if there's, an awful lot of lorries, for example, and they're sleeping, then generally the toilet facilities are not great, I have to say. We like to make time for nature where we can. And nature doesn't have to be, the deep forest. It can be a patch of grass somewhere. But when my kids are at the absolute limit of what they can endure, nature is always our saviour. And that's the same at home as well. Even road trips and travel can include the calming benefits of nature in some form or another. It might mean finding a little bit of stillness and quiet in a park, or a lake, or a patch of woodland, or a meadow. But nature always calms everyone down. On one road trip, we went from Norway to the UK, and it was the middle of the summer. It was some years ago. And it was very, very hot. By the time we got to Germany, which was kind of our halfway point, and we were stopping at an Airbnb, it was nearly 40 degrees centigrade. Excuse me. And we were all starting to have enough, even though we had air conditioning in the car, we had the windows open. Oh my goodness, it was awful. And I knew that checking into our Airbnb, which was in a basement, would have just been mad. So I had a quick search online to see if I could find a lake, because in Germany and France, they are particularly good at landscaping old quarries and things like that and turning them into recreational lakes. And I found one. It was about 5 minutes from our Airbnb. And we managed to park the car in the shade and we rushed across the tarmac to the edge of this lake. And it was absolutely beautiful. And the kids just threw their clothes down and went straight in the water. And it was really our saviour. The meltdowns were averted. And everybody felt so much better to be out in the fresh air, even if it was stiflingly hot. Choose accommodation that is quiet. We have stayed at city centre hotels, which have been nice because it means that you can walk to places. But with Mia, my youngest, she's not a fan of peopling, and she doesn't really like an awful lot of noise and light. So although city centre hotels might work for you, my autistic kids are happiest when the accommodation is in a quiet location. And after a busy day travelling, a quiet Airbnb or a hotel is perfect for decompressing, isn't it? It's the same with us. If you've been driving or travelling, you've had that concentration as well. Even if you're flying, you've got to concentrate on what's going on. I always choose somewhere that has parking close by. That's really important. All parking on site, which is even better, and plenty of outdoor space. It might be a garden or it might be a park. If there are walking routes or a nature reserve close by, then that is even better. It might mean that to explore a nearby town, you have to get on a bus or you have to get on a train. That can be fun. But it does mean that you get a good night's sleep in the peace and quiet. And you wake in the morning to peace and calm. And you're able to just get in your car and go without thinking the first thing I've got to do is navigate the rush hour. When you're travelling, choose healthy snacks. It's tempting, isn't it, to grab a few biscuits and sweets? We do that. I'm not going to pretend that we don't. But refined sugar, a lot of refined sugar, does make us grumpy the next day because your blood sugar level goes up when you eat it and you digest it, and then it goes down. So you feel a bit rubbish. So at least try and chuck in a few healthy treats as well, like some chopped apple, some carrot sticks or some berries, nuts if you like nuts, raisins, some dried fruit. Mia is absolutely crazy for dried mango at the moment. And it's really easy to carry because it's quite hard and leathery and it doesn't get damaged. It can be bashed about in a bag and it doesn't matter. But if you do have kids with some eating issues who have safe food, then stick to safe foods. Because a road trip is not, or any kind of trip, is not the time to experiment with new foods if you don't want a total meltdown. Make sure everybody has an activity. I used to do little packs of things for Brendan and Millie, and they would open it. If we had a long road trip, they'd open one thing each day. And that was fun and entertaining, but quite a lot of work, I have to say. But even simple activities can be wonderfully distracting and they keep everybody occupied. If your autistic little one has a special interest, which they do, everybody does, you can turn that into an activity that will keep them engaged for long periods of time. It might be something that needs a little bit of work or a little bit of research, but it will be worth it. And I'm sorry to say it, but this is where phones and tablets come into their own. There are lots of games and activities online, if your kid doesn't get travel sick, that will make long journeys and the boring bits a bit more tolerable. Even things like audiobooks or some music on Spotify, it will keep everyone happy for longer periods of time so that you can concentrate on driving or navigating and allowing you to have some quiet time while flying or waiting for the next leg of your journey. Don't beat yourself up about it. You're allowed to get the tablet or the phone out. It's okay. Be flexible. Remember that not everything goes to plan. It's okay. Life isn't perfect. You might look on Instagram and think that it is, but it isn't. It's messy. And you are allowed to be a bit flexible. Maybe you don't leave in the morning at the time that you expected. Or maybe you take a bit of a longer break than you thought you would. But be flexible and allow yourself the freedom to make the changes if you have to. Take a deep breath and put one foot in front of the other. You'll get there with a bit of calm. And all that planning that you've done earlier will allow you to be flexible. You're going to be grateful for that. My biggest tip, and one that I have learnt fairly recently actually, is if possible, book special assistance. And you don't have to be physically disabled or have a visible disability to book special assistance. But for autistic children, autistic adults as well, it's crucial and it is fabulous. The last time I booked special assistance was at the airport, and that's where sensory overload can be brutal, can't it? Even for those of us who don't have sensory issues, it can be horrible. You have to book it through your airline, and you have to book it at least 48 hours before. But you go to the special assistance desk, which is signposted, and someone there takes you through a dedicated gate at security. Somebody will come and help you onto the plane. You don't necessarily want to get on first, or you don't necessarily get on first, but actually I think maybe going on last is probably slightly better anyway, because everybody then is sitting down. But they also help you navigate the busy areas, and it's the same when you land. We use something called the Sunflower Lanyard Scheme, and it's a lanyard with a little badge at the bottom which says the person's name and their difficulties. And the lanyard is very distinctive. It's green with sunflowers on, so it's easy to spot. And it's wonderful. You don't need to prove a disability. At most airports, I think if you can, it's helpful. And be prepared to as well, just in case. And you simply wear the lanyard so that those around you, especially staff, can easily identify you as someone who needs a little bit of extra help. Or maybe to be approached in a different way. I did notice that when my girls were wearing them and we travelled from Norway to London, to Stansted, that people behaved in a different way towards them when they saw the lanyards, especially the staff. Their faces kind of softened, they gave them more time, they were gentle, there was no touching. It was really good, and I would certainly book it again. And I have noticed it appearing at, if you're from the UK, I've noticed it appearing at service stations on the motorway and all kinds of places where you wouldn't necessarily expect it. It's not quite so obvious here in Norway, I have to say, but we still use them anyway. And if you can book special assistance, it's brilliant. It's a game changer. And it means as parents that we can take a breath and we can allow someone else to expertly guide us through that chaos so that we at least arrive feeling a little more human. So I hope these tips help you if you have autistic children. Or if you don't and you simply want to do a little bit of planning and have a nice, calm, quiet trip. And I will see you in the next episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters so you can get an email when I release a new episode. It's a quick and easy way to keep up with all things Nordic living. Please visit livinganordiclife.com. You can listen to Living a Nordic Life on lots of podcast apps, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and plenty of others. If you've enjoyed the Living a Nordic Life podcast, why not leave me a rating? So that's the end of Living a Nordic Life for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.